Well, hello and good afternoon. My name is Robert Sumwalt, and I'm a board member with the National Transportation Safety Board. And with us today is Ralph Hicks. Ralph is the investigator in charge for this accident. Investigators from the NTSB arrived in Thomson this morning to begin investigating this plane crash that occurred last night. And the NTSB is an independent federal agency charged by Congress to investigate transportation accidents, to determine probable cause, and then to issue safety recommendations to hopefully prevent that accident from ever happening again. And that's why we are here. And before I go on any further, I would like to extend our sincere condolences to the victims and the families of this terrible tragedy. Our thoughts and prayers do go out to each and every one of them. Here's the preliminary information that we have thus far. Last night, a Beechcraft 390, also known as a Beechcraft Premier 1A, Beechcraft Premier 1A, apparently was approaching runway, was attempting to land on runway 10 here at Thomson. And for reasons that we intend to find out, for whatever reason, the flight crew elected to discontinue the landing. What happened after that is that the aircraft continued airborne off the departure end of runway 10, and it struck a cast concrete utility pole that's located about a quarter of a mile from the departure end of the runway. And that pole, it struck close to the top of the pole, and that pole is about 60 feet high. At that point, the left wing sheared off. Fuel began apparently leaking, spilling out of that wing, and there was a fire underneath where that phone pole was, that utility pole was. The aircraft continued airborne for about another quarter of a mile. It went through a strand of trees before crashing into a wooded area. I've been out there and personally looked at the wreckage site. The length of the wreckage site, the main distribution of the wreckage is about 100 yards long. We will be doing very detailed surveys of that wreckage later on. That's part of why we are here. But the wreckage was strewn over about 100 yards. I can tell you that the wreckage was severely fragmented, and it is almost completely destroyed by fire. So the wreckage, the main wreckage, is about a half mile from the departure end of the runway, which is over here. We understand at this point that there were 5 passengers and 2 pilots on board. The NTSB responded with a GO team of 15 employees, 15 members of the GO team. As I mentioned, Ralph Hicks is the investigator in charge. Ralph responded from our Atlanta office. He was here about 8:15 this morning. The team from Washington arrived. We flew into Augusta, and we arrived at Augusta at about 10 o'clock and drove over here, so we were on site here at about 10:45. Back to Ralph Hicks. He's from our Atlanta office. He's got over 26 years of aircraft accident investigation experience. Our team of investigators will be looking at the following areas. We will be looking at aircraft performance. We'll be looking at the operations of the aircraft. We'll be looking at maintenance of the aircraft. We'll be looking at structures the aircraft structure. We'll be looking at survival factors. Why did some perish while others lived? We'll be looking at those types of issues. We'll be looking at human factors to better understand what was going on in the cockpit of that airplane. We have a team in Washington that is looking at any possible weather implications, and we also have investigators in Washington that will be looking at air traffic control data to see what we can extract from that, potentially radar data, anything to help us understand what may have caused this accident. In addition to our team of investigators, we have a representative from the NTSB's Office of Transportation Disaster Assistance, and he will be working closely with local officials to assist them in their efforts to support the victims and the family members that are involved in this accident. Throughout the next few days, our investigators will be working to document the wreckage. We'll be thoroughly documenting the accident site. We'll be gathering factual information. And that is really why we are here. Our purpose for being here in Thomson, Georgia right now is to collect the perishable information. That information that can go away with the passage of time. And that's why we're here. We're not going to be determining the cause of the accident while we are here. We're not going to be conducting analysis. We will not speculate on the accident. We are here to collect the factual information, the perishable information, or that information that can go away with the passage of time. Our mission is to find out not only what happened, but we want to find out why it happened as well. And through that understanding, we hope to issue recommendations to keep an accident like this from ever happening again. Our investigators will be on scene here in Thomson for 5 to 6 days. We're just at the very, very beginning of the investigation. We're just now beginning the investigation. So we don't have a great deal of information to report to you, but my commitment to you is that we will keep you periodically updated, and we anticipate sometime tomorrow, unless we have some real breaking revolutions later this afternoon, but our intention would be to hold a press conference tomorrow. So we will be giving you regular updates as we're finding information. For the latest information on media briefings, I would recommend that you follow us on Twitter at @NTSB, or through our website, www.ntsb.gov. One final comment. I would like to thank the first responders for all of their hard work, their hard efforts. They have been working very hard, and we appreciate everything that they've done. So that's the end of my prepared remarks, and I'd be delighted to take any questions that you may have.
Who survived?
Who survived the accident? We are very concerned about everyone who's been affected by this accident. We are here. Our mission is to investigate the accident. So it's in terms of finding out the passengers, the victims, those who deceased, those who survived. That information will be releasable from the local authorities, but we're the accident investigation authorities.
We heard the crew survived.
The question is, did the crew survive? When we release information, we want to make sure that we're releasing information that is factual. And certainly I've heard rumors of who survived and who did not, but we're not here to deal with rumors. So we will release information that we verified, but the NTSB, we don't release information about those who've been injured or those who've been killed. that's not in our lane. So the local authorities would be the ones to release that information.
Can you tell us simply, does the death toll still stand at 6, or has it gone up?
What is the death toll? And
or it stands at 5.
Our information right now is that there have been 5 fatalities. That's our information.
When was the last time this type of plane crashed, and where?
When was the last time a plane crashed and where?
This type of plane.
Well, this is a corporate jet. In fact, there have been several corporate jet accidents in the United States, but in the last year there have been non-fatal corporate jet accidents. One at Peachtree DeKalb Airport last summer, and another one just a few months later in Macon, Georgia. But those were both corporate jets, but neither were fatal accidents.
Have you determined whether or not the aircraft actually touched the runway and aborted the landing, or had they even gotten that far?
Have we determined whether or not the aircraft actually touched down, or whether it was an in-flight rejected landing? And that's one of the things we intend to find out. And the good thing is that we do know, and we have obtained video footage from an airport security camera. Now, we have not had the opportunity to really have an in-depth analysis of that video, but that's a good thing. We think that there may be something there that will help us to better understand what happened in this accident sequence. Did the airplane actually touch down, or did it not? And if it did touch down, where did it touch down? Another thing that we will be looking at, and that will be whether or not this aircraft had any black boxes, whether or not it had a cockpit voice recorder, whether it had a flight data recorder. Not all aircraft are required to have these devices. Some are and some are not, and some aircraft that are configured like this one do have at least a cockpit voice recorder. So we've got to get out there, quite honestly, and comb through the wreckage. And when I say that the wreckage is breathtaking, I mean it. You walk up and you say to yourself, where is the airplane? It's a burned out area. It does not look like an airplane. And so that's what the task of our investigative team, led by Ralph Hicks, is going to do. And they will be out there right after this press conference to begin going through the painstaking process of picking through the wreckage, looking to see what they can find, with a top priority on seeing if they can locate any recorders.
Who owned the plane?
Who owned the airplane? That is one of the things that we will find out. We can go on the FAA website and see what it says. I've done that, but we want to verify that before we release that information.
Was it charter, or had it been hired from a charter company?
Was it a charter? Was it a corporate operated flight? That's another one of the things that we want to find out. What type of the regulations was it being operated under? Was it a charter flight? Was it a private corporation flight, which operates on two separate sets of regulations? So I will take 2 more questions. Regarding data, though, we have found that I talked about the recorders. We will be looking for those recorders. But oftentimes what we find is that we're able to capture data from unlikely sources that aren't intended to provide crash data. Sometimes we can get into the memory modules of some of the avionics, some of the radio equipment. Those pieces of information have proved to be very valuable in past investigations. So we feel like, I was talking to Ralph earlier, and Ralph reports that we're off to a very good start on where we should be at this point in an investigation. So two more questions. Question here.
Hit a concrete utility pole. Is it one of these poles back here behind the...
Yes, it is. And so you see the Milliken Plant, and there's 2 orange balls. There's actually 3 orange balls. The pole that it hit was the one that's the furthest to the left of those 3 orange balls. So what it really hit was, and we want to get up there and see any witness marks, but what it really hit, because there's pieces of the insulators, you know how utility poles have insulators. There's pieces of those ceramic insulators that are scattered throughout the woods. I was walking the debris path, and every few feet there was just a chunk of a ceramic insulator. So the point is, though, it did have enough force to literally shear off the left wing in its entirety. So one last question.
Just to follow up quickly on that, you said that the pole's made of concrete, is that correct?
I'm sorry?
You said it was a concrete pole?
It's a concrete pole, a cast concrete pole.
Does that count as a question? What about the video? You said you looked at the video.
All right, so that counts as the last question, but I tell you what we will do. We will keep you posted on what's going on, and Terry Williams is our public affairs officer. Terry's going to come up and make an announcement. And but I want to thank you. I want to thank you for covering this. I know you've got a job to do. We want to be able to provide you with information as we're learning information.